That is for you.
Awesome. Thank you.
I love those things, man. They're amazing. Have you had one?
What is it?
This is Nothing Bunt Cake. They're not a sponsor or anything. They're just damned amazing.
I don't think I've had one.
Well,
now.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Tragedy Academy, a show created to bridge societal divides in a judgment-free zone using candor and humor. I am joined today by the Florida Bushman, Chris Hunt. How you doing today, sir?
I'm pretty good. And you?
Living the dream, my man. I'm so excited to have you in. I feel like I've known you for years without ever meeting you. So thank you for bringing a smile to my face. Unfortunately, a lot of times my pants are around my ankles, but that's I think that's the American way to scroll Instagram now.
You caught me.
You caught me, right? No, I embrace it. Like, I have friends that I'll make jokes when I don't talk to them for a while. And I'll say, I'll send a picture of my feet and be like, hey, I got a few minutes. You need to text me. So that being said, I think you've brought more smiles to faces than most any people on the planet. Just because of the fact that it's a reverberation. So why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and we'll kind of go from there.
Awesome. So I'm Chris Hunt. I live in Lakeland, Florida, born and raised there. I moved out for a couple of years to Tallahassee. Lived in Tallahassee, Florida for a couple of years, and then moved back for a woman. Moved back for my wife.
Well, there you go.
That's current
if
time.
There's going to be a reason. That's a good one.
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Lakeland. When I was born with a hole in my heart. So they knew it before I was born. They were gonna wait till later in life to fix the hole, but it got so bad that 11 months old, they decided to go in and fix it. So they they put a patch on it. As a kid, I just thought they put a Band-Aid on it.
Right, kind of like that old kit for your bicycle tire that had like the glue and the rubber piece you put over it.
Just put Fix-A-Flat in it.
Oh no! Don't put Fix-A-Flat in the heart. No. I've seen. That's the worst thing you can do to a tire. I hear, like it turns it into like a concrete one-sided wheel.
So then later on, they were going to put a pacemaker in. I think like 3 weeks after the open heart surgery, fixing the hole, they put a pacemaker in. So my whole life I've had a pacemaker. I guess looking at me, you can't tell, but
no, you would never know based on your age, the way you look. It's not something that you would assume, which I guess can be a little bit difficult. Navigating life with people not necessarily being able to take in the full, brunt of your particular scenario.
Yeah, I don't really share it that much because I just don't want it to define me. I just want to be normal and I try not to let it set me back. I can't go in the military if I wanted to, or I wanted to chase the dream of being a police officer at one point in my life. I started the academy, but the department said you're kind of a liability with all your medical stuff. So in that part, it kind of held me back a little bit, but I don't let it stop anything I do, any medical issue I've had in my life. So
right. You don't let it define you. But I would like to point out that you're creating a new normal. You're setting a new benchmark for what people are allowed to be comfortable and express themselves within their own needs or scenarios or disabilities or limitations. They can see that those are, while they don't define them, they can be the norm amongst everybody. And it just doesn't become an issue anymore.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter what you have. Just set your mind to it and go for it. And don't stop till you get there.
Right.
Have that passion. If there's going to be ups and downs, that we're going to get in your way. You're going to have negativity. But just keep going. Because when you reach that goal, it's awesome.
So everybody knows you as the Florida Bushman.
Yeah.
You're the guy that makes us all laugh, jumping out at people. And, getting them to honestly break out of the fog that we walk around in, right? Because we're not mindful in any way, shape, or form. Otherwise, you'd notice the giant plastic bush that's sitting 3 feet from us, right? You're actually a prime example to the fact that humans do not practice mindfulness in any way, shape, or form.
It's scary.
Go ahead.
I tell people that, like, I'll scare like a family, and like 2 steps back, I'll scare another family. And I focus on people on their phones just to make an example. Like, we're so glued to it. It's scary that people don't advise their surroundings.
Yeah, they're really not aware of their surroundings in any way, shape, or form. But I think that that's the human experience at this moment. I believe that we're living in a future or past anxiety state, depression state, where we're thinking about scenarios that either don't exist anymore or will not exist or will exist in the future, which are neither rooted in the now, right? And you're pointing that out and giving them it's like you ever heard of people that put rubber bands around their wrist to remind them not to do something and they snap it?
Pop it.
Right? You're kind of like giving them a rubber band snap right their lifetime. Like,
back to reality.
Yeah. Well, hey, there's something right in front of you. So what made you choose this route to express laughter and humor and your passions?
So before I had kids, me and my wife just sat down every night when we came home from work and watched YouTube. And I saw this guy in Vegas, Ryan Lewis Films, and he was out there in Vegas scaring people. And I'm like, man, that looks fun. So I bought a ghillie suit off Amazon. I mean, you can buy them off Amazon. Now I put leaves on it and stuff, but at that point, it was just the strings, and I just stood out.
It's cool looking back at the progression of how you've created your entire suit.
It is, yeah. So I bought a ghillie suit offline, and it sat in the closet 3 or 4 weeks before I pulled it out and used it. And I scared my wife. I put it on and hid on the carport for a while, and sat there. And when she pulled up from work, I jumped out and scared her, and man, I was instantly hooked. So.
You got a dopamine rush out of the laugh, the whole thing.
Like 20 minutes later, I ran down to my mother-in-law's house and scared her.
Oh, so, you became a kid.
Yeah. Oh, I mean,
instantly.
Yeah. You put that mask on, you just become a kid again.
The mask.
Yep.
Makes me very curious because, the show has the masks very prominent. Does putting that mask on give you somewhat of a safety in your personality or how you are perceived by people on the outside? You get to kind of express yourself more than you normally would if you weren't wearing it?
At first it did, but now I grew into it. I've been doing it 8 or 9 years. It just, my wife is like, all right, you got to stop being the Bushman. You got to become Chris again, like take the child out of it. But yeah, it's, to me now, it's hard to separate it, but yeah, first.
Well, why should you?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you don't get to where you are without you authentically pursuing this.
Yeah.
Right. And the moment that you don't enjoy it and you widgetize it and you start creating it for others, it's no longer going to be authentic.
Yeah.
Right. And that's one of the things that people love about these videos is because the reactions in them are always authentic. We spend our time scrolling through social media and we only stop periodically because 99% of what we're scrolling through was created to stop you, right?
Yep.
And if it's created to stop you, it's not authentic.
Right.
But if it's just a candid look into somebody's moment where they have a natural reaction, you're going to stop every time.
Yeah.
This is real. I want to see this. And man, do these people lose their minds. about, say, where you started and where you're at now. What types of approaches do you use and how have you changed them?
Yeah. So I just learning and watching videos. I keep every video I have from the first scare to the one this past weekend. I keep them all. So I go back and I look and I have patterns like also recently I said smile because that's what I want to do is make people smile. So I scare them and say smile and they'll jump and scream, but at the end of it they're smiling. And I get a lot of comments in the feed now. I love that you're saying smile. I've had people email me and say,
so smart.
Tell them to jump. And when you give somebody a verbal command, they do it. So I'll tell people to scream and they'll scream their heads off or they'll jump or whatever. So sometimes I join their conversations. Like they'll be walking down the street or the sidewalk and they'll be talking about their neighbor Tom. And I'm like, yeah, he really needs to mow his yard.
He needs to trim his bushes.
Yeah. So sometimes I just interact with their
That's an extremely intelligent and mindful way to control a situation that can have the tendency to turn into a scenario where someone that's put in that fight, mindset versus flight or whatever it is, a lot of people get warm. Their face gets hot. And for them, a sign of weakness can be shame, embarrassment, or something along that lines. By inserting that simple word smile, you're giving them an out because they don't want to go the other direction. You're teaching them that there's an alternative to how they respond in those moments.
Yeah.
I think that's beautiful, man.
Yeah. And I just in the last few months, I just started doing that and just the excitement I get out of seeing them do that.
Now you've got to insert just bizarre words.
Yeah.
Just be like, Rolades.
I use Bazinga a lot. Yeah.
Just make them question what's going on about everything. I love that kind of stuff, though. I like outside bizarre humor that people have to think about for a minute. And even if it's stupid and didn't make sense, it still makes them contemplate.
Going back to the beginning. So forever, I sneezed and I say it's the allergies because I'm a Bush.
Oh, man, that's so corny. I love it.
And I'll talk to my mic because I have a mic on. And I'm like, all right, anybody feeling their allergies so I can talk to the viewer on the camera to bring him into the video. So I'm like, all right, I'm feeling my allergies again. And I'll count 3, 2, 1, and then I'll sneeze and people will just scream and lose their minds.
Oh, my God, dude. What's the, everybody asks the question, I'm sure, when you come on here, tell me about the best scare. What was the best, reaction that you received in one of these scenarios that just will never leave your mind? Yeah. It's the first one that pops up. I think
the first one was last year. Now I've been doing this 8 years and I've never had somebody fall. And last year I was in Clearwater, Florida, just right in front of Ron John, and I scared this girl. I think she was part of a bachelor party, and she went down, and it scared the holy shit out of me. And
because you're like, oh shit,
got
to stretch that liability insurance real quick.
For sure. Thanks to Miami, they made me get some. But
I bet they did.
Yeah. I went down to Miami the first year that they opened back up after the pandemic.
I have the irony that the guy with the heart condition is jumping out and yelling at people.
People like, funny. Oh, what are you going to do when somebody has a heart attack?
They're like, bro, I'm trying to get you guys back at my level. So nah. I would have a field day with that.
Yeah, but when she went down, I looked at my camera guy and because she fell down and she was just laughing because, she was embarrassed, but she fell. But my heart jumped up in my chest.
You should have jumped up and said, don't sue.
Oh,
instead of smile. Don't sue.
But since her, in the last year, I've had 5 or 6 people fall.
It's because you're looking for it now.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
It's weird
I still get nervous because, I don't want the liability. I don't want anybody to get hurt. But most of the time they're laughing.
Dude, there's a certain amount of credibility to the law of attraction.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you go shopping for cars. You take a look at it once, it's everywhere. It's everywhere because you're looking for it, and now you're influencing it just by thinking about it. So bizarre, but it's there now.
Yeah. Well, my friends, so I had one of my friends work for me, and he jumped in the suit a couple times, and you'll see me in the background. He made somebody fall, and I'm in the back going, yes, because I know that video will do good. she was laughing and like, yeah. So
you can tell.
Yeah, I can tell now.
Absolutely. I'm sure that I would think personally, if I were standing there as you, if I laughed, then I would know it was good.
Yeah.
Simple as that. That would be my benchmark for all of them because the observer gets the best seat for it. And if I'm laughing, I know that the person scrolling is probably going to laugh.
Yeah, sure.
And if they're laughing.
Yeah, and I went to Texas and pranked with a Texas Bushman. And when I started, I didn't have anybody to learn from. There was just me and Ryan was off for like 2 years.
Right.
So I was like I guess now I'm the original OG Bushman because I started it all.
Right.
So these other guys, they email me, they call me and like, hey, what's the steps to do it? I didn't have that. So when I went to Texas,
it's got to feel good. You're like spreading smiles across America.
And anybody that calls me or emails me, I love to help them because there's billions of people out there in the world.
Beautiful.
And I do this to make people smile. I want to bring smile and laughter to the world. And I'm not going to scare people in Texas, but this guy can.
Oh, yeah. Wait a minute. Scaring people in Texas. Well, scaring people in Florida now is kind of scary. I was about to say before we didn't have a problem.
I get threatened every time. I'm going to shoot you. I'm going to beat you up.
Are you serious?
Oh, every time, man. Every day.
That's the one that you may be able to diffuse it through the future periodically with the word smile.
Yeah.
That's the one. And that's the one that needs that because that response is so nonsensical.
I have a shotgun mic that I put out in the background.
Oh, I thought you were going to say a shotgun. I was like, you got to protect yourself. Where are you doing this?
A shotgun mic, just so I can pick up their conversations
as they go away.
Walking. Yeah, because people threaten as they're badasses out there. They get scared and walk away.
That's smart.
So
you can protect yourself from liability. And then just scream, I have a pacemaker.
Somebody use that now.
I have a pacemaker.
I've had a stroke.
You look real bad if you're the guy punching the dude with a stroke. You should just wear that underneath the ghillie suit and open up and says, I had a stroke or I have a pacemaker. Don't hit me.
That's awesome. I'm going to use that now.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, you're living a life where you've had to face your mortality from the beginning.
Yep.
And I feel like there's two ways to live in that scenario. There's a victim chair, and that doesn't mean that you shouldn't feel empathy for the person in that position. But what else do they get? There is no trade-off. Right? You can either sit there and talk about what could have been, what should have been, what would have been, and all those things and expect semi-accolades. Like, you're going to get it like, you could have done that. Yeah, I'm with you, right? Or you can be the person that says, this is my normal, and I'm going to live as hard as I can and enjoy it for the time that I have in any way, shape, or form. And I see that in you, and I see you trying to evoke that from other people.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, death is around the corner for any of us.
It really is.
I mean, I could walk out the door and get hit by a car pulling out your driveway.
So much so.
It's scary. And I try not to live like that. But after having kids and what I've gone through, it's on my mind a lot. Because I don't want to leave them without a father.
Right.
My wife just started. She tells her coworkers and people about my situation. And recently she's told me about a couple stories that her coworkers like, man, you have to be worried about Chris and his heart and stuff. And I guess my mom and dad hid that a lot when I was a child.
I can imagine.
Just so it wouldn't affect me. Because, I couldn't, we ran a mile at PE class, growing up and stuff. And I was always last because my heart couldn't keep up with everybody else.
A pacemaker, for God's sakes.
But I was out there running.
That's like George Burns kind of conditions for an 8-year-old, Like that nobody's thinking that when they see you.
Yeah.
I could see how that would make you feel different than your peers.
Yeah.
Right? Or limited in some way. Did you find that humor was a way for you to connect with people?
Oh, for sure. Because when I was in the hospital, I didn't discuss this, but when I was 2, my mother's dad got diagnosed with leukemia. So I did 3.5 years of chemo.
3.5 years when chemo was chemo.
Yeah.
It like now it's like chemo light in comparison. People live a lot longer. And I'm not, dude, if you're out there on chemo, I apologize. It's probably the worst thing you could possibly go through. But I know that radiation and chemo back in the day was a much different animal. My mom has had cancer for like 5 years.
Couldn't really take radiation because I had the pacer. So
is that how that works?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it like kind of like, God, I don't want to sound like a fucking cheese ball or whatever. Is it like standing by the microwave like they used to say? Like,
yeah.
Like, is it really like it's that scenario? So like the radiation will shut it off?
They tell me I shouldn't go through the metal detectors at the airport and stuff. I do. My wife freaks the fuck out. But I'm like,
what are you supposed to? I feel like I would take that risk just so I don't have to deal with TSA.
Well, they still cut me. It still pops up on the screen. You have an implant in your chest.
Oh my God, dude.
So they're like, we can go behind the doors and like screening. I'm like, no, let's scare everybody on this damn plane.
Worst place to hide your drugs. Worst place to put your heroin. Right in the heart, right in the center of the chest. Come find this.
So right now I actually have two because I have one in my chest and I have so much scar tissue over the surgeries I've had. I've had 5 of my heart surgeries. So going through scar tissue is like cutting through a Kevlar.
Oh, wow.
So when I have open heart surgeries, it takes longer to cut through my scar tissue than do the surgery because I have so much built up.
Oh, they got to be very careful too, I'm sure.
Yeah. So they like, well, we're just going to leave that pacemaker there.
Oh, your heart's a badass. Like if yours would be like the biker with an eye patch and be like, what up? Right? It'd be a badass heart. You wouldn't screw with your heart if it was in a lineup of other hearts. I wouldn't. Like that one's tough, grizzled. It's seen its business.
Yeah.
And you know what though? I feel like you've got one of the strongest hearts that ever existed.
It's been through it. It's been through its time.
But it's here. Yes, in a physical manner, it may have its atrophy and its condition and all those things. But we tend to forget that there are two separate entities working as one. And that is the energetic heart. Yeah. The heart that you feel when you see something joyful or when a child is born or when a friend does something successful, or those are two separate but in one entities. While it's pumping your blood, I believe it's probably stronger than the energetic side. I think that it has taken its strength from one side and placed it into another, because clearly you care about your fellow man in every way, shape, or form, because you could be sitting in a chair, easily sit in a chair and just be like, hey, that was cool.
Yeah.
But you're not doing that.
No.
And we need more of that kind of heart in the world. So I just want you to know, from me to you, I appreciate that.
Well, thank you. That means a lot.
I know I'm beating up on conditions. I laugh at things. I've had 5 hip surgeries. I'm not comparing myself, or 2 hip surgeries, 5 ankle surgeries, and a couple kidney surgeries. So I get it. Like, recovery sucks. Sitting in places suck. And my first love affair was with Winnie Cooper, because I was stuck in a hospital watching like this whole entire set of the Wonder Years for years. You form a bond in those scenarios. What was your poison?
Probably Sons of Anarchy.
Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, I named my son after Jackson.
Nice.
Yeah.
I watched that show a bit. I missed when it was in its prime.
Yeah.
But I loved the characters. I loved how they were loyal, how they were grizzled but loving, and of course, Peg was in it. She's such an amazing actress.
She is.
Just amazing.
And I didn't know that her husband was the producer.
Really?
Yeah. Her husband is the producer of that show.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I think that in order to bring something to fruition, the person with the vision has to be as involved as possible for it to maintain its integrity.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
For sure.
So that's why you see it a lot. A lot of actor producers, actor directors, that kind of thing. But you've got to be in the business for a long time or understand your product. That's for sure.
For sure, yeah.
Right. They did a good job.
Awesome job, I think.
So your time as the Bushman probably comes with a lot of lessons and a lot of growth. And people might think that it is what you see from the reactions of the people that you impact. But I would assume that there's a greater amount of growth probably within yourself that people would not be privy to. What do you feel you have benefited from or grown from with this entire endeavor?
So every social media person that entertains get these emails that, we save people's lives. And that's not what I went into it for. I went into it to make people smile and laugh because the world we live in is hateful. And I experienced that. But when you get these emails, and I just started sharing pictures. Throughout the years, I share pictures of my surgeries and stuff. But when I get the emails like, hey, you saved my life. Like, I'm going through cancer right now. I sit in the chair, taking my chemo. And I sit here and watch your videos, and it puts a smile on my face. And like, I live each day to watch one of your videos, when I wake up or whatever. So that to me is like, wow, this is bigger than I ever thought it would be. And I'm out there pranking and I interact with the kids and they just come up and hug me. And I'm like, that's taught. Like I'll sit there and for the last 4 pranks I've done, I've had one kid I've just interacted with. After conversation over, they just give me a hug. And I'm like, man, this
feels amazing.
This is amazing. And that's why I do it.
I couldn't have got a better answer for that question. I think that we don't give people enough credit for the impact that they can have through small interactions.
Just tiny.
We're given the privilege of being called influencers, right? And I think there's an onus on us to act with a certain level of understanding for the human experience, and that what we're contributing people are going to consume and it's going to impact them in some way, shape, or form. And that when we're given the ability to speak on a microphone or into a camera and people are consuming it, we must make the decision to create something that is going to impact people in a negative or positive manner. And if you're using that time to create negativity, then you're not living your fullest potential. And that's really sad. And you're sowing seeds of pain and sorrow and sadness and defeat when you could be sowing joy and passion and love and empathy and all those things. And an influencer's role is one that you should feel privileged to have, right? And that also means being in your raw form. And I love that you're showing everybody who you are because you're giving them license to be themselves. While it is a revealing process for you, right? And it can be a growth mindset where you become more and more authentic to yourself and you look less on the disabilities or capabilities that may not be there. And you're growing in front of those people. You're showing them that they don't have to succumb to their own limitations. They don't have to be the sum of society's judgment.
Correct.
Because that's what we're growing to. We're growing to a mold. And implicit biases tell us that if we see somebody that has had a stroke and has hemiparesis or something along that lines, that means that they may not be able to speak properly, or the person that's had a stroke and has something with their speech, and you automatically assume that there's a mental deficit of some sort.
Yep.
People talk slow to people that haven't had a stroke.
Yep.
Don't talk slow to me if I had a stroke. It's just my mouth, not my brain.
Right.
Right. But we'll do that. We'll slow down. We'll do things. We'll judge the way someone looks. We talked about this the other day, the tooth. when somebody loses a front tooth, we have such an implicit bias ingrained in us from society, from TV, from parents,
Judging that book by its cover.
Right. And you'll look dead into the eyes of a Harvard professor and make him homeless in seconds. And it is unbelievable that we can do that. Like, and I did it until a friend lost his tooth live time in front of me and looked at me, and I saw him and I was like, why do you look dumb? Like, it was funny, but it hurt my head for a long time. I was like, I don't like that you look uneducated right now, because I know you are, but something is cracking my head. And it's those little things, that we glean, and we start plugging in those societal judgments and giving people limitations without ever meeting them.
Yeah, like I could take all these disabilities. I say disabilities, my medical history I have, and I could sit and at home in front of the TV and pity myself. But I don't decide to do that because, like I said, tomorrow can never be promised. And why am I going to sit there and pity myself if I can get out and do something positive in the world? Not just to change my life to make me feel better, but all these other people I'm changing their lives and maybe motivate them. I shot a video on pulling out of the driveway. I'm like, today's Tuesday, June 11th. Get up, do something positive in your life. Go say hi to somebody, put a smile on their face. Do something with your life today.
Yeah, random act of kindness.
Yeah, random act of kindness.
It has an effect not just on the people that are receiving the kindness. It has an effect on you. Yep. Be greedy, selfish, and a narcissist and eat up that feeling as much as you can in life. Run out there and do shit for people because you're going to feel incredible every time. Eat that up.
Yep.
Like, there's no better thing than seeing someone else feel the relief that you provide them through an escape of laughter or validation.
Just, walking out of Publix or walking out of Walmart, if you see an old lady loading their car with groceries, just help her. Approach her and say, hey, can I help you? I mean, just don't walk up
from her.
She'll mace your ass. But
see, I would honestly watch that video too. This is what's wrong with me. So we're talking about all the wholesome humor in the world, but I live on a dark humor fence like all the time. Like, I love dark humor. I love, because it calls out the fallacies in our understandings of society live time, but not putting somebody on the carpet.
Right.
Like, you can watch somebody tell the joke and then you're like, shit, that's me. Everybody's laughing, but you're like, ooh, all right, I'm not going to do that anymore. This isn't acceptable. You just kind of move on.
Yeah.
Right. So, Florida Bushman, you have fellow Bushmen throughout the United States.
Yes.
Have you worked on getting your first international Bushman? Or do you have one?
Me? Going overseas and doing one?
Or do you have somebody that you're working with or you've talked to? Or?
I've talked to, I think Nixar. I think he's in Ireland.
Okay.
And I think he was the first Bushman on YouTube to reach 1 million subscribers.
Check him out.
Yeah. So
that's a place to do it. Jumping out between pubs.
Yeah. Yeah.
You might get punched there though, man.
Yeah.
That's a real. Yeah. Florida is kind of the wait a minute. Florida's the Ireland of America. You will get
with
punched.
a shirt.
It does.
That's
dude.
good merch right there.
I say that, and I say Florida and Alabama are kissing cousins, or Florida and Ohio are kissing cousins.
Or West Virginia. I don't know, West Virginia's out there too.
But you know what? There's a lot of people that spread a lot of hate in those areas that are making it look bad for the good, decent folk.
Yeah.
Right. That are not those people. Unfortunately, what we fail to realize is when people scream hate, they're going to be louder than the rest of the group. It doesn't mean they're the group.
That's correct.
It just means they're the ones that are screaming hate.
Yeah.
Right. We have to find a way to differentiate. I think that all of America should start wearing the American flag at once and watch how many take it off. Right?
Yeah. It's how many take it off. It's
because I don't like my flag being a symbol of pain or hate.
Yeah.
Even though the people that are using it in that manner will never say that. And I don't talk political on the show, but we live in Florida. Yeah. And it's painful to see reminders of hate drive down the road, knowing that there could be a child in another car consuming that and be in pain.
Yeah.
Or a mother or learning from it.
Yeah.
You know, all the same. Like if you have to put on something every day that invokes confrontation with others, you're the problem.
You're the issue. Yeah.
If you have a shirt with a racial epithet on it, you're the problem.
Right.
Even though you think you're trying to, it's not hate, it's whatever. No, you're the problem, dude. Yeah. And we need more people to call that out.
We do.
Not in an ignorant manner.
Yeah.
Make it unacceptable. Shame them. As soon as somebody does that, everybody just walk away immediately and leave them standing there with their words. Or, I love this. When someone says some heinous crap like that, especially when you live where I live, look them in the eyes and don't respond.
Just
give them a moment of ponderance. Just like a kid with their hand in the cookie jar, they'll jerk off that first response, but the second one, they're going to be like, yes. They're going to do the same thing. They're going to realize that what they did was not acceptable.
Conscious, and I hit them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Or you say, why don't you go home and think about that? And just walk away.
Yep.
Or you give them a timestamp. You're going to remember this for the rest of your life. That was not a good thing to say.
Yeah, sure.
People don't like that.
No.
And when you don't yell, somebody pointed this out the other day. When you don't yell and you talk in a low manner,
low voice,
people have to listen.
Yep. Because they have to stop to listen. They have to stop yelling. Yeah, I learned that. I was in the Police Explorers.
Love that.
I got taught that. Like when you show up to domestic and they're yelling back and forth, just talk in a normal voice because they're going to have to lower their voice to hear you.
Mm-hmm. No more, damn it, Randy, I can't take it anymore.
Back up,
that's
Terry.
A Florida. Back up, Darnell. That's the angry. I do voiceover and voice acting, and that's awesome. One of my favorites. My wife thinks it's hysterical, and I'm like, damn it, Randy, I can't take it anymore. Because that's such a Florida thing to hear. You could be in Home Depot, trailer park, Walmart's. You have to add the S, you know. I think here's the thing. Again, salt of the earth people are here. You know, I'm not going to bang on my state, but you are the Florida Bushman. So we're talking about Florida.
Yeah.
We have another podcast that we love. We're friends with Florida Man on Florida Man.
Oh, yeah. What's the son there?
Yep. And it's funny. I saw that you had been on there after we had invited you on. Yes. Actually, Wayne and Josh have been here in the studio.
Watch that episode.
Yeah, we've been over in their studio. I love those dudes.
They're awesome.
They're truly affecting change through humor and satire. Learned now that you've been going on the podcasting circuit?
You guys are all work together, and it's fun. You know, watching the podcast and getting in it. I think this is my 4th or 5th one. Just watching them and getting to see your stories that you get to hear. I'm thinking about creating my own just so I can invest in that, like to learn what other people's lives are. Get, you know, like put a camera in their eyes and let me see it. And share it with my viewers. And
I love that.
Yeah.
I think I say it on the show all the time that experiences are lenses, and that they layer over time. They create each individual prescription, and podcasting gives you the unique ability to be able to translate somebody's prescription for a listener in a very intimate manner. It's in your ear, and it's closest to you outside of your own internal voice. That's again why the onus is on podcasters and influencers to put out things that create change and affect good, positive outcomes, because you're privileged to sit that close to somebody. They don't even listen to their mom that much, right?
Correct.
So you've got that position. They're thinking about you when they're buying something at Target.
Yeah.
Right? Would Jay have bought that?
Correct.
Or would he laugh about this? Yeah. Right? You become a family member. Right? So
sure. Yeah.
I think that you're doing a great service by living your life with purpose on both sides, right? You're doing it in business, but you're doing it and trying to find additional pursuits that can affect change. I support it. I think that you would be amazing at it. We're here to help you in any way, shape, or form. I'm going to even go out on a limb and say Wayne and Josh will help you, right? Because I know they would.
Yeah, they would.
But we would all definitely give you a hand in that endeavor, because I think that you have a great opportunity to do post interviews.
Yeah.
Right? I would love, I kind of just thought of a collaboration. I love rocking the boat.
Yeah.
And I love giving people a chance to have moments where they can understand themselves. I would love to grab one of those hulking bastards that freak out afterwards, that look like they're upset, and me go, hey, got a minute? Sit down and just talk about why.
Why?
Why was that the response?
That'd be interesting.
I think it would be. And not all of them are going to be down to fucking explain why they reached out at
or hit my ass
or punched a guy who had a stroke. Like, no, not everybody's going to want to do that, but then there's going to be the one.
Yeah.
And that one could probably shed some light in two different ways. One, we can let them see why they, really don't have to live in that fear, because that's fear.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
But it also gives them a chance to explain where it came from.
Yeah.
Why it exists. It's probably the first time that they would ever have had to articulate it.
Yeah.
Might even make them feel like they've released a demon, right? Or they can look at how nonsensical it might be.
It could open a lot of doors in their mind and come back in 10 minutes.
Come back into... I do like the guy that has such a short-term memory problem that he went through that whole scenario with us and then comes back and gets scared again.
All the time. All the time. All the time.
You're outside of a head injury unit. Just scaring people repeatedly. Oh, God.
51st scares or whatever.
51st scares.
Instead of 54th stage.
Coming to a spirit Halloween for you. That's what they should do that. Oh my God, that's funny. 51st scares. How long have we been talking, man? I haven't even looked. Okay, we got plenty of time.
Yeah.
Plenty of time. So the Florida Bushman came into existence 8 or 9 years ago. Outside of that pursuit, what do you love to spend your time doing?
My kids, my family. So I'm going to go off for a second and then I'll come back to that question.
Please.
So when I created the channel was called Fred Special Television. So going back to my stroke, I had my stroke when I was I went to the hospital to have a, what they call a heart cath, but they stick a camera.
A tube in there.
And it goes in your thigh. Now they do it through your neck, through your arm. But this one was through my thigh, right in the crease of my pelvis.
You're asleep, right?
Yeah, I'm knocked out for sure. But I had a stroke during that procedure. So it was supposed to be an in and out same day. It was an outpatient procedure I was having done, but I had the stroke on the operating table. And when I came out of surgery, they were bagging me. They were breathing me. Walking down the hallway, my mom's sitting there like, what the fuck is going on here?
Oh my God.
So, I think I kind of recovered. I remember laying in the bed and she's like, "You had a seizure." Like my right arm went above my head and I started seizing up. And, she pressed the call button around in the hallway and, "Hey, you need to come in here." So I don't know if I had the same, I don't know if that's when I had the stroke or somewhere in that. And I remember I woke up and I watched wrestling back in the day.
Dude, so did I. I grew up on it.
She was in my way and wrestling was on. I looked around her and I remember Ric Flair and somebody else was wrestling. But then they started doing the stroke procedures, like to see if I had a stroke. So they asked me to lift my left arm. So then the character in me, they asked me to lift my right arm and I couldn't. So I just grabbed it and lifted it with my left arm.
Like you were doing a sleeper tap, and they used to do back in the day, they'd pick it up and drop it. Yeah. And the third one would be like,
yeah. So then they, took me to get a CAT scan and all that stuff and found out I had a stroke. So when I created the channel, again, going back, I had the procedure during spring break. So I could...
Worst spring break ever.
Right? So, it was supposed to be an end day out the same day. So I would be recovered and be able to go back to school after spring break. Well, I never went back to school that year because I had a stroke.
Yeah, that's a damper.
Yeah, a little damper.
That'll take care of that.
So,
that'll ruin your prom plans.
When I went back to school, I got bullied. My hand took most of the effect. So my muscles tightened up in my arm.
Mm-hmm.
So I named my arm Fred. So that's where Fred Special Television came out of it. I knew television wanted to be in there somewhere. So I created the character Fred for my arm.
I fucking love that.
And that's where the channel came from. But after making a brand, I needed to come up with something more SEO searchable. So then I
get it.
I'm the Bushman.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in Florida, so might as well be called the Florida Bushman. So that's when I changed the name, but the original name was Fred Special Television.
Dude, I love Fred Special Television. Yeah. And if you don't have a sock with googly eyes that can do something with you while you're on camera, talking to Fred when it's having its problem, because I know that you're dealing with it.
Yeah.
Right? And people are looking at it. And I feel like you're the type of guy that could pull something like that off. Fred, and tell him to stop.
I had a leader. I worked at Disney for 10 years. And I try not to let it bother me. Like
exactly.
It's there. Like most of the time, if you see me in videos, I'll have my hand up here because that's where it's relaxed at. So he always stared at it. And one time I go, "What are you staring at?" in a meeting.
I would have done the same thing.
So
I would have not told him and put a mustache and eyes on it. And then as he stared, I'd pull it out and let him see it. I'd be like, "What are you looking at?"
My name's Fred.
I love that, dude.
Yeah.
But why live any other way? So I like to point out that it's never tomorrow and it's never yesterday. We always say, we got to live for tomorrow. Tomorrow doesn't exist.
Nope.
It's not in the plans. It's something in your head. You think it exists. You're planning for it. But next time you're there, when you're in tomorrow, ask yourself what time it is.
Yep.
It's now. So I would argue that we are like a walking firework in place, and we're capable of watching ourselves or looking away from the firework. Right?
Yeah.
We spend our whole lives standing with the fireworks at our back and walking around it and looking at what could be, what had happened, all those things. But in reality, that's what's happening.
Yep,
you're creating everything in a single moment. And you're doing it in a manner where other people are getting to benefit from it. Right? You're watching your own firework because you were forced to look at it at an early age.
Correct. Yeah. My whole life.
Your whole life. Watching it.
Yep.
But man, it's beautiful.
It's just try to live every day in the moment.
That's exactly what we're supposed to do, though. There's a million thousands of religions that will tell you these things, mindfulness, prayer, live in the moment, you are God, you're all these things. Dude, it's true, right? I heard or I read one time where someone said that your life is simply a walk where you meet other versions of yourself. Right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons you're supposed to treat everyone with kindness, because they're actually you, just in different forms. Because I found how much truth is in that since I started working the show, because when I listen to people like yourself tell me your experience, there are relatable things within that.
Yeah.
And when you listen to the human experience, not hear it, listen, it gives you the ability to relate. It gives you the ability to look through their lenses, right? And I think that you're providing people a chance to refocus on now, right? You're doing a beautiful thing with that. And I think that living facing your fireworks versus looking away from them is what you're an example of, right? Enjoying it in the moment. And people need that because contrary to popular belief, like you said earlier, we're all one inhale from death.
Yep.
Like literally, I had a doctor tell me once, I did not like this, right? When I was in shape back in the day, I used to do a lot of running and ruck marching and stuff like that and try to do competitions and yada, yada, yada. And the doctor, when I came one time, he's like, you have a limited number of heartbeats, right? Why are you using them all now? And I was like, don't say things like that, dude. So not cool. He's like, relax. Stop trying to put yourself in that state in your living condition all the time. Save some for life.
Yeah.
Like, that's not wrong. Right?
Yeah.
I feel like you're using what you have effectively. Right?
Man, I never thought about it like that, man.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you taking the time to come here and for being somebody here in this state, affecting change and being a beacon for hope. Right? I tell people when they come on here, be a lighthouse.
Yep.
Right? A lighthouse does its job. It's authentically itself, and other people take their cues from that direction.
Yeah.
And it allows them to be their own lighthouse in their area of the world and affect change from their location. People don't need to be standing next to you to feel the change.
Yeah.
Right? And I think you recognize that by the emails that you get. We get emails too.
Yeah.
And there is nothing better than knowing that you helped somebody through a difficult time or gave them license to be themselves or took away some implicit bias. Those are beautiful things to know that you're doing. But I would argue that it's also something that we benefit from internally.
Yeah.
Like I much like when you see somebody laugh and smile, seeing somebody come to the conclusions about themselves in real time, so dope.
Yeah.
Right. It's a great thing.
Makes you smile, makes you, feel good about yourself.
So if people want to collab with you, they want to find you, what kind of projects do you have coming up so that people can get prepared to come out and see the shenanigans or, what you're working with?
Yeah. So going back to your last question, you asked me what I'd do outside the bush. Family. So we're about to take a month's vacation. So I'm going to try and use this week and edit all the videos I shot this weekend and get some content up. And we're going to go and live life as a family.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. I absolutely love that. And you deserve it. Yeah. And again, you're not abandoning work.
No.
You're giving license to family freedom.
Yep.
Right? You're showing priority. You don't have to sit there and create widgets for people to affect them. Knowing that you took the time to step away from that to help your family will remind them that they should probably step away and spend time with their family.
Because again, your last breath could be the next one. So always, adventures coming up. Vacation. When I get back from vacation, I'm going to Clearwater for like a week.
Nice. It's beautiful there.
To get the videos out. So the beaches, Clearwater is one of my favorite cities to go and do. I've had some crazy experiences there. Scared a murderer the day he killed somebody.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Man, dude, you are like a second away from taking someone's place. Talk about castling in chess at the wrong time. Like, no.
Yeah.
Man, but you point out something, dude. People are always in a life.
Yep.
You have to respect that you have no idea what's going on behind their eyes.
Yeah.
You're scared of murderer.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And we were pregnant right in front of the store where he killed the guy at.
Oh, I'm so sorry, dude.
My wife said, don't share that story. Somebody lost their life. But
oh, so this was like you were pranking and he just walked into the convenience store behind you or whatever.
So we were in front of Surf Style. It's a big store on Clearwater Beach. And we were there from like noon to like 6. And later on that, we scared him walking out of the store. And like 4 hours later, he got into an altercation with somebody in that store and shot and killed the guy in the store.
He was there checking it out in advance. Man, dude. You should have scared the shit out of him so he fell over with a heart problem.
You got scared now.
Say hi. What was it, Fred or Fred? Say hi to Fred.
Yeah.
Like,
you could be Richard.
Richard and Fred. I'm Richard and I'm Fred. That's your new podcast.
That's the new podcast.
Dick and Fred. Fun with Fred and Dick.
It's awesome.
Dude. So give people your website.
flbushman.com.
All right. Instagram, TikTok.
TikTok, it's all Florida Bushman.
Awesome. Bro, I genuinely appreciate you coming in. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You're welcome back anytime. And I'm looking forward to seeing that podcast or listening to your podcast when it comes out, because I think you're going to have some really cool stuff in there.
Yeah.
You're put here to do special things, and you're proving that.
Awesome.
Effectively using your time, which I think all people should be doing. So thank you for setting that example.
Well, thank you for having me. Let me share my story and inspire
Don't
people.
stop.
It's never going to stop.
All right. Remember, everybody, be cool and keep learning.